Sheesh. Wow. Okay. We're back. We're back. Two things, a couple things I want to acknowledge. One, it's been a while. I think something that I kind of talked about to myself before even creating this episode is I want to not allow the things that are happening to prevent me from creating, to prevent me from like walking in that purpose of like being a creator and a storyteller. And it was kind of getting to the point where I was like, I knew it was time because, people were asking me, when's the next one, and not for like, oh, yo, when you about to drop, like when's the next hottest. Nah, it was more so of like, just kind of like a mutual appreciation for, sharing stuff with you guys that makes sense to a lot of people. So I knew it was time. I definitely am about to, kind of find a cadence and a rhythm to be better at making sure that these stories come about, and just kind of being adjacent to like, real events that are happening in real time. So that's kind of how they're always crafted, but just being better about it. And that's on me. With that being said though, wow, a couple new things. So one, this is actually the first time that I've gotten a chance to shoot in daylight, which is really cool. And it's like these Arizona sunsets, man, there's something else. But just to like kind of that like intermediate intermission stage between what's like fall season. So I would say between 4 o'clock and like 6:30 maybe, and the sky is just these sunsets are amazing. But to be able to like shoot in daylight right now is something that I'm like super proud of. Just kind of being organized with crafting the show and getting everything set up before the sunset. But today's episode is gonna be it's gonna be a good one. But before we kind of jump into that, anybody that is new on today's show, if you've never seen Inside the Inventory podcast, I'm your host. My name is Justice Marchand, and I'm the creator and founder of the show. And the one thing I can say, if I can't tell you anything else about what you're about to experience today, and or if you had a chance to maybe even like take a peek at previous episodes, is this isn't just a regular pop culture kind of gossip talk showy like podcast. This is a very intimate space where I kind of like, when I write these stories, I think to myself, like, I feel like I'm just sitting crisscross applesauce from me being on this microphone and whoever is sitting in front of me, and just having like an everyday life conversation. And that's my approach with a lot of these shows, because at the end of the day, all those fancy fun like trendy wavy podcast shows are all cool, but majority of us are just regular people. We're just regular everyday people. And so I try to come from a holistic standpoint of like making it make sense. Man, so kind of a little backstory today of the show is, I I've been having the conversations I've been having with people lately have been like what I like to call like honesty hour type conversations. And I think it's so cool because you don't ever there's very few settings where you get to like be completely transparent, even for like your most trusted people. I feel like we always kind of like sift the things that we want to say versus like what we actually meant to say, or like the thoughts that we had in our head. But lately I've been having some real, like, just very fluid and just really like open floor, open dialogue type conversations with good people. And a lot of it has just been sharing like where we're really at in real time, back and forth. And some of it has kind of been like them, being like, hey, you need to tighten up or be better in these areas. And I think that it's kind of helped me. One, it's helped me create this episode today, and two, it's just it's really helped me kind of be more in line with who I say I am, and kind of working a little bit more every day to get to that person. So with that being said, um, yeah, I guess that's a little bit of face value for you. I'll be the first to admit, I think from looking at my own life, and also seeing how just people are wired, seeing how they work, I've come to the conclusion that there is a massive, massive contradiction between who we think we are and who we are in real life. And that's for a number of reasons, actually. I think that a lot of times, we struggle with this perception of, our best qualities and always wanting to be the best version of ourselves versus like what we actually put out there, what we actually give to people. And I think what you'll kind of find as you watch this episode is just like, how can we do our best to like make those two versions of ourselves one unique version. And I was kind of thinking, and I think that a really big reason why there's such a distinction between who we are and who we think we are, is because we make a lot of exceptions for ourselves. I think just basic human nature, right? Like we operate under our own like principles and our own moral codes to like justify why we are the way we are, why we do the things we do. And it's fascinating because I think that we kind of live in this bubble, right? We live in our own bubble of like our own construct, that we create to fit what works best for us, our lifestyle, our choices, our habits, everything, right? We create this template to make what we're doing and how we interact with the world around us to fit us, right? To cater to us. And it's cool because you don't realize how flawed it actually is, or how counterintuitive it actually is, until it conflicts with somebody else, or with or when it kind of you're approached with a scenario that goes entirely against all those principles and methodologies that you've built for yourself. Because I think that what we do is we kind of make the shoe fit in a way where if it works for us, it works. But most times those things that kind of quote unquote work for us are not universally good. They're not spiritually sound. They're not kind of in that like black and white area of like good versus bad, like that whole like subjectivity. But I think that we are always like doing that. Most times like unconsciously too, or subconsciously rather, is we're always doing that because we want to create a world that works best for us. I would consider myself like a very self-aware person, and I try to be like mindful, very flawed, but I try to be mindful of you know of just life context, and being situationally aware and all those good things, right? But I feel like even with the most amount of self-awareness, we're still as people, when it comes to our self-image and the way that we see ourselves versus the way that people see us, we're always going to be biased. We're always going to be biased because I think what happens is we care so much deep down about like that character preservation that it's always going to be a clash in that way where, if there are things that we're doing that work for us, but they don't work for other people, we're going to be naturally defensive. We're going to want to come to our own aid in a way because in our eyes, we're so biased and we're so like non-neutral that we think that, a lot of times we think we're doing the right thing. We think that we're operating the right way because of the standard that we've created for ourselves. But whole time, like I said, it's not universally good. And I think that that's when you really are able to kind of like uncover some of those things to work towards just having those two versions of yourself best aligned. If God decided to create a perfect person, I mean, one perfect person, Jesus, but if any of us were perfect, then none of us would truly suffer from this. But I think we all do in a way, definitely. Sometimes it's more obvious or apparent than others. And sometimes, there's signs that are worth being uncovered. I know for me personally, I suffer from a lot of at least when it comes to insecurity and self-esteem. Those are probably the two biggest uncovering factors when it comes to like self image or self ideation. And it's interesting. So I get from an insecurity standpoint, I think that's what drives us so far left in terms of the way that we see ourselves versus the way that other people see ourselves, because we are constantly, supplementing and overcompensating for, whatever deficiencies that we have, whether it be, socially, physically, our physical appearance, just any deficiencies or lack thereof of capabilities that we have. We're constantly like scouring and scavenging for ways to supplement that. And I think that a lot of times, if it is too severe or if it's too upfront and apparent, it definitely shows. And I think that that's why we again kind of lean so far left. And then when it comes to like the self-esteem issues, that's another reason why we kind of highlight the best things about ourselves. We think highly of ourselves because it's kind of like when you look good, you feel good. And we're all guilty. It's just like when you're able to put yourself, not even to put yourself, but when you're able to create a space where this environment is catered to exemplifying or showcasing your best qualities, you're going to naturally, you're going to be feeling yourself. You're going to be like, okay, I'm really, I'm feeling right and tight. But what happens is it's like that is very, very saturated, right? Where, that place or that state of being that you've created a lot of times isn't, real life.
Who are you taking with you to commit a crime?
If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
My favorite season and why? Thanksgiving. Because I like turkey, chitlins, greens, cornbread, candy yams, potato salad, peach cobbler, lemon cake, anything I can get, and my children and grandchildren most of all. So much to be thankful for. Thanksgiving. That's my shit, nigga. All right. Honestly, Garrett's. Because he just keeps it a little realer in most situations. I don't really have to explain much to him. He just kind of get it.
In my current life right now, if my life had a theme song, it'd be the Vini song. That I swear, that's like every day I have that playing in my head, like constantly. That'd be my theme song, like literally right now. It's a praise song, for real. I'm praising God right now, all through life. Got to.
Let me see what I got. You already answered this one, fool.
So what do you think people say is your best quality?
The nastiest food item.
Dang, y'all keep putting it back in the bucket.
I'm not sure, but I think that just me being a caring individual is my best quality. Oh, thank you, Angel. My personality, hey. But that's what I would say. My personality and just being a caring person.
I love spicy food. It says the nastiest food item. I don't have a nastiest food item. I eat everything.
Can only eat one food for the rest of your life. What would it be?
Favorite place you travel to?
Barbecue ribs. Yup. I'm finna have a heart attack. I'm finna have a heart attack.
I'm gonna say Washington. Yeah.
Are you grateful for anything? Everything, like everything in life, like breath, life. When I go to bed at night and I know all my kids are sleeping and they're secure and they safe and I know that they gonna wake up the next day on a prayer from God is everything.
I think love is probably the underlying surface. You know, this can come from a lot of places. This can come from relationships, romantic, family, friends. Maybe somebody turned their back on you. This could come from your adolescence. You know, maybe a single or no parent household. Maybe there was some tension in the crib when you were young, or whatever the case is, right? But I think underneath the layer of like wanting acceptance, wanting people to like always see us in the best light, wanting people to always accept the best version of ourselves and not think poorly of us is because of love, right? And that acceptance is always tethered with just wanting to be loved, wanting to be in a space or an environment where it's inclusive. And I struggle with that a lot too. You know, I've always struggled with acceptance. And I think that, you know, I would say my lowest times, my worst times is when, you know, I was trying my best to, you know, put on a facade or to go the extra mile to sway people to gravitate towards me, to suggest that I was a person worthy of being included. And that killed me. One, is exhausting, and it's not sustainable. And we all kind of go through those phases, right? It starts very early in life, but then you kind of find your own sense of self. You find your own being, and that road kind of paves and smooths out as you go on. But I think that even in those like latter, more like, you know, I'm comfortable where I am type stages, it's still always there because of that love factor. And that's why like the self-image and the way that we see ourselves has to be true. It has to be raw. It has to be very just real. It has to be real. We have to be real with ourselves, because we can't expect somebody to love or to accept or to include a version of ourselves that really doesn't exist. I think that that's just the foreground work that we have to do for ourselves, because when you find that you're just comfortable with where you're at, but you're also honest about who you truly are, what you have to work on, but also, you know, giving yourself those pats on the back, celebrating small W's, just constant like character development and improvement, then you're gonna naturally find people who are on that same type of time, who are on that same mission, and you're never gonna have to worry for, you know, that acceptance, because, you know, first, and this is, you know, it's super cliche or whatever, but you've accepted yourself. You're cool with who you are. Like, you know, I'm cool with just, you know, I got a little $15 like flannel. I got a little beanie because it's cold outside. It's fall season. And I'm cool with that, you know, and I definitely am molding and kind of getting into a space where I'm cool at the end of the day. And it's easier said than done, but I think that's so important when it comes to acceptance, because, you know, self-love is the best love, and then it just permeates to the world around you. I would say word of advice, and for new listeners, I always try to include some sort of application in the show. I don't never like for y'all to not have no takeaway or something you can be like, wow, I can really plug and play with that. But something, and this is, and also I have to reiterate this. You know, I don't want to come behind this mic and say that my word is law. My word is not law. I just, all I can do is share from a lens that, you know, either I've seen, I'm currently going through, or a mixture of both. You'll never hear me come and sit in the seating and get behind this mic and tell you stories that are fabricated or stories that absolutely I know for a fact won't work for you or anything like that. All I can do is just share what I know and just in hopes that it helps somebody, even just one person. But I think this is actually something that I'm kind of trying to work on in real time. It's just like when it comes to the two versions of ourselves, the way that we see ourselves and the way that other people see us, or the way that we are in real life to the rest of the world, we have to find a way to for one person to meet the other, right? Like meet me halfway. I understand that, sometimes my head is in the clouds and I think highly of myself, but then there's days where I'm low and I snap back into reality. We're like, man, maybe maybe I'm not so great. Right. But it's just like, how can I find a way to bridge the gap where, I'm never going to be too high, too low. I'm always even keeled because of the fact that, I'm very, I'm sure that there's a level of surety that exists inside of me to where I can always be very stasis, right? And that I feel like that's the ultimate goal. That's definitely been something that I've really wanted to achieve, but still working on it. And the last thing that I want to say in closing here is, I think that journey to becoming synonymous with yourself, becoming synonymous with the version that people see, and that you put out there, and what you feel you are, you think you are, versus what you are behind closed curtains. And I think that there is a tremendous journey and a road ahead to make those synonymous, right? To walk with that like level of just that level of surety and clarity about who you are in real time. And so the one thing that I can say is that the Lord, he definitely will meet you where you are. There's so many chapters in the Bible, most recently Isaiah, where it just talks about like the Lord, everyone that's created in him will find their image and purpose in him. And it's just things like that like it's uplifting, but it's also a pessimistic, viewpoint, because there's only one perfect person in human history, and his name is Jesus, without flaw. And that's a tough matchup, right? That's a tough act to follow, but it's also it just lets us know how much actual work we have to do to like find and sustain our self-image through like a perfect template, through a perfect reference in Jesus. But it's also it just reminds us that we do have a lot of work to do, but it's uplifting at the same time, because even if it's just 1% every day, even if it's just just something every day that we're working on to improve that, I think that it could be really wholesome in the end, because you're kind of always walking with that, being present, right? You're always being present about, what's going on just with yourself, your life, and you don't care about anything else. I think that's like probably the biggest, invaluable. It's just like you get to a point where you just stop caring about everything that doesn't matter, and you're only focused on just the things about you, and about the way you really truly want to not only see yourself, but the way that you truly just want to be, the way you want to exist, starts to become first priority. And it's just cool that God has given us so much grace and extended so much, mercy and favor to meet us wherever we are. If he needs to come 90, 95, 99%, sometimes even 100%, he'll do that. He will absolutely do that for you. If he needs to meet you halfway, he'll be like, hey, drop a pen, drop the Addy. What's the ETA? Like, I'm there, and he'll do that for you. And to partner with that is a perfect template in Jesus, who shows us exactly how to get it done. And it's an amazing partnership, and it's always given me hope, and giving me confidence that I can achieve that synonymous state of being. So yeah, I just want to say that if you are in a place where you're still kind of learning and growing, just to give yourself grace. You know, be patient, pace yourself. Don't get overzealous. Don't get discouraged. Just know that, you know, your path and your journey is your own. It's there's no two that are the same. And I just, you know, I hope that if there was any takeaways from the show, that you just kind of know when the dust settles that, you know, you'll be all right. You just got to own, and most importantly, just own and be present where you're at. You know, just own it, you know, knowing that it is subject to change, and hopefully for the better. But with that being said, man, I'm your host, Justice Marshawn. This was, I felt like this was a little bit quicker, but it definitely had a lot of meat on the bone. I might even go back and watch this too. But I appreciate you guys, man. I would definitely be more aware and mindful about how often I'm able to do these stories, because they mean a lot to me. And I know that just from a handful of the people that I spoke with in terms of listeners and people that really enjoy this craftsmanship, it's starting to definitely resonate and mean some things to them too. So yeah, for sure, I'm right with you on that. But with that being said, I'm gone.